Welcome to Black Girl in CLE, the podcast. I am your host, Shana Black, and in each episode, my special guest and I will talk about local events, the topic of access in Cleveland, and sometimes we'll just talk about some cool people who are doing cool things in the greater Cleveland area. I'll introduce you to this week's guest right after this. Hey everyone, we'll get you right back to your show, but I wanted to make sure you check out all the other shows at Black Girl Media. Whether listening to The H, or Truth About Child Loss, Under the Wig, or 216 Jams, our podcasts cover all types of topics and are for a variety of lifestyles. So check us out. Also, if you have a show idea and you're ready to get your podcast distributed on Google, Apple, or Spotify, we can get you started. Just head over to blackgirl.media. That's www.blackgirl.media. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I am your host, Shana Black, and today with me is Stan Jackson, managing attorney of the Cochran Firm. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
You look scared. You look
I'm not scared. I'm just smiling.
You look so nervous about being here. So this is an episode that we're doing in person on a hot June day, just for sake of knowing when this is recorded, because things change so quickly nowadays. So tell us all about Stan Jackson, all the things Clevelanders want to know. Who you are, background, Clevelander, all your Cleveland credentials, married, kids, all those great things.
Born and raised in Cleveland, went to St. Ignatius, proud St. Ignatius alumni, went to Bowling Green for undergrad, graduate school. Also been a private pilot for the last 22 years, so I got my pilot's license at Bowling Green, then went to law school at University of Dayton. So I'm a flyer. Practiced at Thompson High for a little while, then went out on my own, and now I'm at the Cochran Firm, managing partner at the Cochran Firm, Cleveland. So
would you say you enjoy what you do? You enjoy being an attorney?
I do. I decided to be an attorney because it was a good opportunity to be able to effectuate change in Cleveland. So I knew when I went away to law school that I would be bringing, as they say, my talents back to Cleveland to help.
Is that what they said at law school?
No. Law school, they're always trying to get you to go to different places and different firms in different states. I had an opportunity in Chicago, but I chose to come back to Cleveland because I knew my city needed people like myself, so I just wanted to play my part. So,
besides knowing you and always wanting to talk to very interesting people around the city, you are smack dab in the middle of a few big and important cases. You want to tell us about what you can, or tell us about the case?
Okay, I'll start with the Tamia Chappman case. Tamia Chappman was a young 13-year-old girl, resident of East Cleveland. There was a police chase that started on West 116th from the Target. Two young males took a car from a lady, and an off-duty officer saw it and followed them all the way back to East Cleveland. And at that point, he was radioing in and talking to the Cleveland Police Dispatch. And at some point around Eddy Road, as they were getting off and the young men were driving the stolen vehicle, he then the dispatcher then patched in the Cleveland police, who then entered into the pursuit. And at about 90 miles an hour on Euclid Avenue, right where the Cleveland Clinic building is, and the library, if you're familiar with the area, it's Euclid and Superior, where they meet. There's a McDonald's over there. They were driving about 90 miles an hour, chasing the suspects. And at that time, kids were getting out of elementary school or middle school as well. All the schools were letting out, and they were headed to the library that's situated over there for an after-school program. And so there were a plethora of kids outside, and the police officers continued the chase, even though they knew that the kids were out there. And unfortunately, The young lady, Tamia Chappman, along with a few other kids, were struck. Tamia Chappman died instantly at the scene. So we are, as I said, I'm the managing partner of the Cochran Firm, so we're representing her family. We know that the chase probably shouldn't have happened. I think Cleveland agrees along with that. The second case is Desmond Frankiln, a young man on April 9th this year at around 1:40 p.m., was driving down Pearl Road. If you're familiar with Pearl Road, there's an intersection where Pearl and Archwood meet. There's a convenience store there. It's right before you get to 71. If you're headed north, there's a, Dollar Tree in that plaza. There's a smoke shop. There's a library. There's a cemetery on your right. So he pulls into the convenience store parking lot. His passenger gets out the car and takes a few sodas off the back of a delivery truck that was delivering items to that convenience store, servicing that convenience store. And as he was doing that, there was a off-duty officer by the name of Jose Garcia who had pulled up into the parking lot and confronted Desmond and his 15-year-old passenger who picked up the items. And he said some racial epithets and told them that they were kind of being mischievous, etc. And they yelled back at him. He pulled onto Pearl Road, headed north, and they pulled out into Pearl Road, headed north. He's in the right lane, closest to the curb, and our client was in the left lane, closest to oncoming traffic. And they're driving, and they go past him. And this all happens in a matter of about 11 seconds, maybe not even. And so as they're passing him, the officer shoots into their vehicle. Now, our client, Desmond Frankiln, had his windows up. They were not down. The officer had his passenger window down, ready, I guess, to engage them, shot into the car, barely missing the 15-year-old and shooting our client in the right side of his head, which meant that he was looking forward, not paying attention, and probably didn't even notice that he was passing the very man that he had gotten into an argument with or had, discussion with or whatever. This happens like right in front of the library, which is right there. This is high traffic area. It's like I said, 1:40. People are driving back and forth. There's a bus stop right there. People are sitting at the bus stop when this happens. There is an innocent bystander who calls into 911 and says, hey, there's a guy shooting into another car, and he's pretty upset about it. There's a shooting, and he doesn't know that this guy is an off-duty officer. The client, as he was shot, passes out and runs into the fence. The passenger jumps out and goes across the street to the tire shop, which is called the Weston Tire Shop, asks for help. That gentleman, unfortunately, refuses help. He goes back across the street and takes his shirt off and applies pressure to our client, Desmond. And as he's doing that, Garcia is calling into 911, and he's saying, hey, I think I've been shot at. I think I may have been shot. I think I may have hit one of them. And so they continually ask him a couple questions, and, what color is his car? And he's not responsive. They ask him some more, ask him for more detail of the scene. He's not responsive. He just keeps getting out the statement he wants the dispatcher to hear. He walks up on the scene, and he makes the passenger stop applying pressure and tells him to get on the ground, very callous and cold. So, we take issue with that. But this is kind of what happened. There's more facts that we're not ready to share yet because we're still kind of doing our research. During this entire time, the Cuyahoga County Sheriff and the Cleveland Police have not provided us with any information. All the information that I'm telling you right now came from our own investigation. This happened on the 9th. We were on the ground working on this case on the 10th. It wasn't even 24 hours from the time that he passed that we were gathering information. By that Sunday or Monday, most of the information I'm telling you we had the video from the different perspectives. we had already talked to some people who saw what was going on. We were able to do a few interviews, but unfortunately, even up until this moment, even after the protest that we had this past weekend, we still have not yet received any information. And we know that there was a special prosecutor, but we were never told that. We just kind of happened to happen upon that information. But it's been very closed investigation, which I think is unusual for a city like Cleveland.
So, a couple things, just for perspective. You said the 9th. Which month again, for people that tuned in?
I'm sorry. This happened April 9th.
April 9th. And so you guys came in on April 10th to start. And as of now, where are things? So is the officer, like, still on duty? Where are things?
So the officer is on paid leave, and he's not on duty, and he has not been charged.
Do you think Clevelanders know this story? I know you've done the march last weekend, and there's a lot of marches going on. You know, Floyd, people are still marching for Tamia rights. Do you think people really know this story, or do you think this story still needs to be told?
I think the story needs to be told. I think people know the story, but I think it needs to be told so that every aspect, every corner of Northeast Ohio and going out into the country, that everyone knows what happened on April 9th. So we had a rally on Saturday, and there were a plethora of people out there. I think some estimate that there were 3,500. There were some estimates that we were around 5,000. We started in front of the 2nd District, protested there for a while, had some call to action, and then we marched down Fulton to Archwood, if you're familiar with the area, then marched down Archwood to Pearl Road. But as we were marching down Archwood, the people in the neighborhood had been prepared for us because we had advertised that we were having this march. And thank goodness for Black Lives Matter and NAACP, who were very intricate in making sure that this happened. Can't thank them enough. Those are two great organizations. They were very organized. I mean, they pretty much led the organization of the rally. They contributed a lot. They made sure that a lot of people knew about it. They advertised it to make sure that people were there. They were very informative. But as we were walking down Archwood, the residents were providing us with soft drinks and soda and water and chips and all kind of snacks. And there were even people who had, been out barbecuing and preparing meals that people could have. And so to see that type of, and it is white, black, Latino, it's a very mixed area, but the show of support was amazing. And so as we marched onto Archwood, once we got to Archwood, the very convenience store that I was telling you about, that they had their initial interaction, we stopped there and had everyone sit on the ground. So you've got 5,000 people. So you've got, a couple thousand people on Pearl Road, and you have the rest of the people still on Archwood because they can't all come around that corner. And everyone is sitting, and I'm explaining to them kind of this is the last place that he was at, giving them the facts. And then we stand up and we walk to where he was actually shot, where the officer pulled the trigger. And so we stop there, and everyone sits down again, and we allow the family to have their moment. But then we also have someone from the family, a lady by the name of Quintantina, who is amazing to say the least. She did a prayer, and the prayer was powerful. On that day, if you didn't believe in God, I don't know where you were, because she gave a pretty powerful prayer. So then we moved on to where he crashed into the fence and, kind of explained this is where we believe he took his last breaths. We believe that he may have still been alive when he hit the fence, and that there are some other issues that we're investigating concerning that particular little bit of evidence that we do have. And from that point, we had the option of crossing the freeway or going on to the on-ramp to get on the freeway, and then going to the exit ramp to exit the freeway. So at that point, we walked onto the freeway. So there's video out there. We walked onto the freeway, the on-ramp, and then got on, the exit ramp, and then got on the on-ramp to go back to Fulton. we made our way back to the original place that we started, the 2nd District Police, continue protesting. But the most important thing that came out of this was that we reminded people that that the next step of this protest is to vote, right? And to fill out your census. So we created a QR code that would allow you to go straight to the Secretary of State to check your registration or to register. So the QR code currently is on my Instagram, Stan the Lawyer, or Cochran Firm CLE, or NAACP, and as well as Black Lives Matter. So the QR code, all you do is you take your phone, put it up to the QR code, and it'll allow you to go straight to the link. You click on the link at the top, and then you can go check your status, register to vote. The other thing we're doing is we have another QR code that'll allow you to complete your census. And whether you have the census, the physical mail that came to your house or not, you can still fill out the census. And the reason that we're asking people to do these two is because we realize that protesting is a good start, but it's not enough. We need to change the narrative here in Cleveland. We need to change the narrative throughout the country. So those are the things that we're asking people to do that want to be supportive, is to make sure you register to vote, so that in November of this year and continuing years when it's time to vote, that we make sure that people who are going to make sure that our community is safe are in the proper place.
So that's great. The voting takes them to the official Board of Election site. Is that correct? The QR code?
Yes.
Okay. Just in case people can't scan the QR code, they can go directly to the Board of Election site. Going back, is the store owner saying anything? Like, did he even know that all this happened from his store? Because you said they were taking it from a truck. Was he part of it? Did he call the police to say this, or did this just happen kind of?
No, he
saw it.
No, he wasn't. He didn't know anything that had happened when it actually happened afterwards. I think someone may have told him about it. I actually spoke with him, and he was kind enough to try to provide me with video. Unfortunately, the truck was in front of the camera, which wouldn't allow us to see any video of their interaction.
So right now, as it stands, there's no charges, correct?
No charges.
The officer is on paid administrative leave.
Currently he is, yes.
And if nothing happens, then what happens? I mean, people should be like outraged, but stories go away. So if this story was to go away, what happens?
No. So the Cochran Firm, we are very relentless when it comes to the pursuit of justice for our clients and for our community, for that matter. We're not going to let this go away. So there'll be continual media blasts. There'll be continual coverage of this. And I believe that all the people who were at the protest are continually circulating it, and they're going to continue to apply pressure to get answers, to ask the questions that need to be asked, to share the information so that people are aware of this, so that we can get justice.
So what is the Cochran Firm, or what's your ask? You're looking for the arrest, you're looking for a firing. What is it that you want?
We believe that Jose Garcia should be charged with murder, and we believe that he should be fired.
Okay. So let's go to the other case. Where does that one stand?
The Tamia Chappman case in East Cleveland. About 2 weeks ago, I filed a complaint at the County Common Pleas Court, so we are actually going through that process.
Does that tie into kind of the same police narrative? I mean, are you seeing a trend there, or are they just two separate incidences that both happen to have police for you?
No, they're very much connected. So one of the things, well, not one. The issue here in Cleveland is we have a consent decree, right? And so part of that consent decree is that we're supposed to have, safe and fair practices, and officers should be trained, and there's a monitoring team that is supposed to make sure that the Cleveland police are doing what they're supposed to do. We believe that that's not happening, or else we wouldn't have these two situations. we believe that both of these situations show that not only the lack of training, but the carelessness at which the officers have moved around our city and treated our marginalized people, and we intend to hold them accountable for that. And so our issue, which is an issue that I believe everyone has with the city or with the Cleveland police, is that we need better. This is not good enough. I mean, this short period of time, we are hurting because we have two young people who are not going to be able to contribute and live and enjoy what we enjoy every day because their life has been taken because of the reckless acts of officers who probably should not have been officers.
So unlike your other case, is there one specific officer you're looking for? Is it against the force? Like, where are you taking issue? Is it the training with this case specifically?
In the Tamia Chappman case, as of right now, we believe that there are probably 18 officers that were involved in that, and the actual chase. And so we believe that the policy that they have they didn't actually follow the policy. We believe that the training that they have was probably inadequate. We believe that there are some warning signs there that officers should have not been on the road or on the street. Certain officers, have had other issues from our research. And the entire situation, as we go through it, it's too much to talk about it now, but the entire situation was a calamity of errors. And like I said, we're pretty upset about it. I get emotional thinking about it because I have, a lot of kids that I'm involved with as a track coach on the side, and I couldn't imagine one of my kids having that happen to them on the way to a program. They're leaving school. They're supposed to be in a safe area. And so we're going to be relentless in making sure our streets are safer.
All right, so we're going to take a break. I'm going to come back and talk to you in a minute about going forward and how people can support. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to this episode. I am Shana Black, and I am with Stan Jackson, the managing attorney of the Cochran Firm in Cleveland. Yeah, I wrote that down because I forgot. And we are talking about just being active here in Cleveland. We talked about a couple of cases that he's working on and the call to action. So you had the rally Saturday, but eventually rallies stop. Voting is in November. What should people do in between? Like, how do people get active? Because there are people that are getting active that have never been in any kind of grassroots organization. So what are some first steps that you think?
We believe that people need to be engaged and activated in a way that will allow them to join organizations like the NAACP and join Black Lives Matter, join a variety of other organizations. There's a plethora of activist organizations here in Cleveland. And if you don't like, or if you don't particularly want to join those organizations, we recommend that you start your own. Along with, I think one of the other things you can do really well is probably writing letters to your local politicians, your congressmen, asking for them to deal with the issue of qualified immunity, which doesn't allow very many of these cases to get past the protection that police are often afforded.
So here in Cleveland, who do they write to? Like, it's one thing to say write to your council person, write to your congressperson. People don't necessarily know who to write to. So I want to make sure that people have a clear directive so it's not, oh, I didn't know, and they opt out.
Okay. So if you're here in Cleveland, we want you to call and write to the mayor. We want you to call and write, depending on whichever ward you're in. You should be able to get on the Cleveland City Council website and figure out who your councilman is in your ward, councilman or woman, and write them a letter. You don't necessarily have to write them a letter, but you can
Maybe
email them. We believe that emailing and calling. The other thing you can do is make sure that the story has to continue to be shared. So any information that you see on our website or that you see about, or the story about Desmond Franklin or Tamia Chappman, continue to circulate it. Continue to share it with others so that it can be reposted. That's how you get the information out. And the other thing you can do is, once again, make sure you register to vote and complete your census, right? And then educate yourself. Go and do your own research on the particular candidates that are going to be available in November. And within those candidates, reach out to them to ask them questions, send them emails, make a phone call, and get yourself, now you have a couple months to get informed about who you're going to be voting for in November. One thing we don't want to do is to tell you, we may have suggestions, but ultimately it's your decision. And so you have to be comfortable with the decision you're going to make in November. And so now, if you've never voted, now you've got a short window where you can learn a little bit. If you voted before, but you're not sure of the candidates, you still have an opportunity to be able to engage and interact with them.
So I will say, I think here in Cuyahoga County, we do a good job of preparing people to vote if they know the tools are there. So one thing you can do is go to the same website where you sign up to vote and print off your ballot so that you can study it, see what issues are showing up on your actual neighborhood, school levies, judges. But I want to bring up the point of, because it's 2020, many people think we're voting just because of the president. But in these situations, and even in Minneapolis, it's more about the lower tickets, the more municipal offices. Would you agree?
I agree. I think I partially agree. The president is a really big deal.
Oh yeah.
We know that we're in a very interesting time in our life, that we have a president who is totally disconnected from our community. And the community maybe that he thought he was connected to, he's disconnecting himself from them as well. And so that is very important here in Cleveland. But like you said, it's also equally as important to make sure that you know and understand who the local candidates are, so you can make a sound decision on them, because those are the people who are going to be helping shape and make the new laws, enforcing laws, things of that nature in our community that will allow us to be safer, allow us to deal with the issues of racism.
Right. So I'm thinking, the thought of voting for your judges or voting for prosecutors. Those are things that we vote for, and they may not all be up for election in November. So I think, the one thing that I, not to say take issue with, but I forewarn people is that every election is important. Because while we have our president, we're going to have a president regardless. But if our prosecutor is not going to press charges or move forward, then that's going to be another issue. And if, police officers or people know that, you can still have issues. So I think, for me and my 2 cents of it is all elections are important, and specifically local, because we feel that you have more access to reach out to your city councilman, even in an off year, because everybody doesn't run in 2020. Agreed?
I agree.
So let's talk about organizations. You mentioned how do people get active or find organizations? Is it a Google search? Like, I can just Google it and say, I want to be active. Are there a main site? You said, or get active and start their own. Like, how would someone do that? What are you thinking when you suggest that to people? What are you picturing?
So there isn't any particular site that I know of that you can actually go and find where all the current activist groups are. We're all on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. There's a bunch of organizations that seem to pop up with the protests that have been going on. I would, just like you would find an organization that I would get on those on Instagram and things of that nature, try to find them. I would, also do a Google search for organizations that are locally listed. We have Urban League. You can be a part of the Urban League. There's different organizations that you can be a part of that you need to join. I just named a few, but I know those because those historically have been organizations in Cleveland that we've been a part of, that we use as an agent of change, that has been a part of our community and continued to fight, and they're at the forefront right now. But starting your own organization is just as simple as, calling up and Instagramming or texting some of your friends, and you guys may have some similarities and like-minded ideas, and giving yourself a name and deciding you're going to meet. And then from there, you may want to localize and file with the Secretary of State and make it official. But the most important thing is getting together with people who have the similar issues and talking about it and finding out strategies on how you're going to be able to effectuate change on the things that concern you most.
Cool. So I'm going to take this pause because I'm trying to find a nice way to switch gears, but we're going to just make the switch because I don't want to hold you too much longer. What is it that you want Stan Jackson for yourself in 5 years? Like, what's your hopes and dreams in this role? Because you've not been at the Cochran Firm, like, it's not been an all career.
Yeah.
So what are you aspiring to do here in Cleveland?
I'm aspiring to make my community safer and better. I know that sounds like a general term, but we have a lot of issues here that we need to deal with. And one of them, obviously, is the issues with police brutality. So I'd like to be able to say that I contributed enough to make sure that that has changed, that maybe the statistics that we see right now are, we can't live in a vacuum where it doesn't happen, but that it's gotten significantly better, that maybe other cities throughout the country would look at us and say, Cleveland got it right. And I'd like to be able to say that I was a part of that conversation, someone who helped push us to that. I love Cleveland. I've learned a lot here in the city, and it's made me who I am. So I know that I would want to give back. I'm giving back in a way that hopefully will make it better for people who, are my age, younger, and, maybe many years from now when we're long and gone, they can look at the change that we made.
So are you positioning, or are you kind of the police brutality lawyer? Like, what other kind of cases do you take? So should people call you like, hey, I had a bad interaction, and they're coming at you in the Cochran Firm? Or do you handle other cases?
Well, I'm glad you asked that.
I'm sure you are.
So ironically, our firm is when it comes to personal injury, we're a full service firm. So we are experts in trucking accidents, auto accidents, medical malpractice, and premise liability, along with civil rights issues. Civil rights just right now happen to be hot, and those are the things that show up in the media. But we've been dealing with a lot of trucking and auto accidents, severe auto accidents, and medical malpractice cases here in Northeast Ohio. So we actually do way more of those cases than we do police brutality, only because police brutality cases do not happen at the same rate as trucking accidents and auto accidents and medical malpractice. Premise liability is another one that is a budding area here in Cleveland.
What does that mean?
So premise liability is where you're at let's just say there's a structure, you stay in an apartment building. An apartment building is known to have a high crime area, and the building isn't secure. So the front door doesn't lock. People have complained about it, and they never make sure that door is properly secured. And something happens to someone in the building, there's a possibility that you may have a claim against the owner of the building because they had a duty to ensure that you were safe. So that's just one of many instances that we can talk about. And I know we don't have time to go through all of them, but premise liability is basically the theory that when you are at a particular structure or a place, they have a duty to make sure that you are safe. But more importantly, especially when they know that there is an ongoing issue in the community that could make you unsafe, there could be incidents, and to continue to ignore that without proper security or measures to make sure that the people who are visiting or the people who are staying are safe is an issue. And we make sure that we represent, we're here to make sure that we have an opportunity to represent clients or people who are injured in those particular circumstances.
Tell me about the Cochran Firm, because I know the name probably is ringing some bells for people, and I'm not sure that everyone knows your firm exists. You know what I mean?
Great. That's actually probably what I should have started off with, right? So, really excited about the cases really excited about the cases that we have here in Cleveland. Excited about, it's not all just about Cleveland, but to me it is to some extent. So the Cochran Firm has 24 offices throughout the country, and we're in most major states. We have over 300 attorneys throughout the country. We are the largest, one of the largest personal injury firms in the country. We've had over $35 billion in settlements. And in Cleveland, we're at the forefront of being the firm that has the biggest settlements, the most settlements. And so when it comes to an issue with the Cochran Firm, if you hire us as your attorneys in, say, a trucking case, you not only get me here in Cleveland, but there's another trucking accident expert, Sean Williams, who is in between here and Atlanta. He's had a plethora of very well crafted decisions on his behalf, and more importantly, great settlements that have changed the way that the trucking industry continues to function. And so he's an expert. He's just one of them. But there's a guy that you not only get me, but you also get him. So if there's an issue that we're dealing with, it circulates throughout the country through all these experts. And so we may be looking at a situation here in Cleveland, a particular incident or even a law that we may want to challenge. And I have a guy in California or another guy in Mississippi, another guy in New York who's like, hey, over here, this is what we did to deal with that same issue. So now you've got these experts working on your particular situation. And so you just don't have, 20 lawyers here in Cleveland who only have the perspective of Cleveland. You have lawyers throughout the country that are experts that are dealing with the issue together. And we're excited about that because we get very, very good results. I would put our results up against any other firm. I know that it wouldn't be fair to them because we have such a large group of people that are experts that continue to do it the Cochran way.
Wow, that sounded like a commercial. So one more question, and I think it's probably the most important question, well, not one of the most important questions that we're having right now in this conversation. For people that are experiencing something, so maybe they have an accident with trucking or a personal injury or one of those cases that you cover, I know a lot of times people dismiss it like, oh, it's nothing, and then they end up wanting to call an attorney. Like, what should they do if they're in an incident? Should they just call an attorney anytime they have an issue? Should they wait 90 days? Should they try to settle stuff on their own?
We never recommend that you try to settle or deal with a case on your own because more than likely the issues that you're dealing with are complex. And the person on the other end of that phone or on the other end of that email, they are not dealing with that issue on their own. They're experts. They're trained to deal with the situation and try to minimize whatever it is for the bottom line for that particular company or organization. The reason you want experts like the Cochran Firm is because we take the time to make sure that first that you are okay. So, you get into an accident and you're thinking, hey, I've got these issues. And so we have experts that, in that particular accident can tell you, hey, you need to make sure that your doctor looks at your spine. Hey, if you have issues with tingling in your toes, that's another issue. We want you to, trucking, auto, medical malpractice, like I said, we have experts that deal with all those issues. So we're going to make sure first, in the best way possible, that you're going to get the right treatment and made whole physically, and then there's a pursuit for a particular settlement. And like I said, when you think of the Cochran Firm, you have to think of a big firm that's going to be great and representing you and aggressive, but small in the sense that you can call someone, you can talk to us immediately. You're not going to be lost in talking to other people who aren't attorneys. You're going to talk to someone who is particularly on your case, who cares about your case. We're going to remember your name. You're not a number. And we're going to make sure that at the end of this particular case, that as much as we can, which is possible, to make you whole.
So, like when I used to get my insurance card, it would say, here's what you do and when to call the insurance. Like, call us while you're waiting for the police. When do people call you?
When you get in your accident, accident happens, when you realize that someone may have, you went to the doctor, something doesn't feel right, you call 216-333.
Well, I'm just saying, so they call you after the doctor. They're not standing outside in the middle of this event saying, I need to call an attorney. Or do they call you a week later after they went to the doctor and I'm still having trouble? Like, I think that's the question that many people don't know, when to make that phone call.
You need to call us as soon as you realize something is not right. If you're in an accident, obviously that's not right. So, hey, I've been in an accident, I'm injured, I call. If you're dealing with a medical issue and you're unsure, like, hey, I don't know if I feel right, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be feeling this pain, I'm not sure if whatever, you call at that moment. You don't wait a couple of weeks, you don't wait an extra day or two. That could be the difference in your life. And so you call that number, which I gave you, and we'll
put in the show notes.
Right. So you call the number, and someone's going to answer that phone and get you to who you need to be with. And you make sure you let them know all of the symptoms that you have, and they're on a hotline. Like, if you call at 11 o'clock tonight, someone is on the hotline, and that email and information goes out to an attorney who will give you a call back. We call back all of our clients, 100% of them.
Okay. Stop doing that. So, anything else? What do people need to know before we wrap up? I mean, we'll have your information, how to find you, how to follow you, all those things. What do you want from Cleveland, or what's your parting sentiment?
My parting sentiment is that when you hear the Cochran Firm, yes, it was started by Johnny Cochran, the infamous Johnny Cochran, who actually had the first civil rights case, the Detweiler case. And so we carry on his legacy. We do it the Cochran way. And I know it sounds, cliche, the Cochran way. The Cochran way means that we are going to be relentless in pursuit of a resolution for whatever issue you may have that you come to us with. We're going to do it with excellence, and we're going to be prepared. And we're going to make sure that when you're with us, you get the justice you deserve in whatever particular situation. And so I want people to remember that we are here for them. We're not just a firm that's in Cleveland. We are a part of your community. We live in your community. We work in your community. We shop in your community. We are one call away. We're just like you. We're just here to help. We're just here to make Cleveland better.
All right, thank you. My guest today is Stan Jackson, managing attorney for the Cochran Firm. We'll have your show notes. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And we'll talk to you all soon.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Black Girl in CLE, the podcast. Please check us out online at www.blackgirlincle.com and like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at blackgirlincle. This podcast was recorded in Cleveland, Ohio, with post-production by the talented interns at Black Girl Media. Copyright 2019, all rights reserved and retained by Black Girl Media, LLC. Talk to you next time.